Now on Chronicle.
It's just mind-blowing to see the damage and catastrophe that's done.
The worst disaster in decades.
Looked like a bomb went off. There was all kinds of power lines down.
A year later, scars of Helene.
It all washed away.
Still painful.
And we lost everything.
But with devastation.
It was just jaw-dropping.
There is rebuilding.
I didn't see us ever having another home.
This year, we're seeing things come back.
The power of Mother Nature just never ceases to amaze me.
With tragedy.
We're open, yay!
There is resilience.
There's more good days than bad days. Every day if you wake up is good.
There's hope in tomorrow, and it's going to get better.
Now on Chronicle, hope after Helene.
Welcome to Chronicle. I'm Jane Robelo with Chief Meteorologist Chris Justice.
And Jane, this week marks a year since Hurricane Helene ravaged our area, and one of the hardest hit spots right here in Chimney Rock where we're standing. And where we're standing, we would have been 25 feet underwater during Helene.
Wow, it's dramatic. And over this next hour, you're going to see some of the hardest hit areas. We're also going to show you how recovery and rebuilding is well underway in most cities and towns, welcoming visitors back with open arms. But full recovery will take years. Now, Chris, we say this was a once-in-a-thousand-year flood, but what does that mean?
You know, mathematically, it should not happen, but every 1 in 1,000 years. But we know that's just not the case. 1916, the Great Flood in Asheville. Fast forward to 2004, this area had significant flooding that was 1 in 1,000 years. And then fast forward to Helene, another 1 in 1,000-year flood. And we know that that risk is always going to be there when you have hurricanes coming inland.
And that's just the water. The wind and the rain really affected everybody.
There was at one point when we were broadcasting during Helene, we reported 960,000 people without power. At that point, I knew just about everybody in our area did not have power. The minimum was most people lost power in our area, but there were others that had their homes swept away. Some were fighting for their lives.
That's right, and so many people jumped in to help their neighbors right here in Chimney Rock. Our Nate Stanley shows us how people helped as soon as the storm swept through.
And this place looked like a bomb went off.
Helene's rain and wind rolled over western North Carolina.
There was all kinds of power lines down and trees and everything else.
Barreling into the once bustling Chimney Rock.
We hiked out because you couldn't call, you couldn't let anybody know you were alive. So we hiked out over the bridge and it was full of debris. So we climbed over the trees.
In the water's path,
you gotta go to the fire department.
The hickory nut.
It was all washed out.
A nearly 30-year-old gift and plant shop.
There was nothing left of the house whatsoever below it.
And home to Sherry Cummings and her business partner.
The store had that front 10 feet, that's it, of merchandise. And we lost everything else, including backstop.
Just up the river, a local firefighter and his wife were traveling down this road and saw this bridge covered in debris and water, cutting them and over 100 other people off from the outside world.
You could see down the road a little ways where the road was, and you can see that it was just gone.
Isaac Guffey with Batcave Fire and Rescue jumped into action.
The first thing was I was trying to make contact with every person so we had accountability that everybody was okay.
He risked his life finding vulnerable members of his community, including a woman who needed medication.
I had to hike through the woods. I counted 3 mudslides, very large mudslides that I had to cross to try to get to her.
Many needed to be taken off the mountain by National Guard helicopters.
They picked her up and then they took her to where she was able to get out to her family.
In the days and weeks following, and when they could safely get here, volunteers from around the country showed up to help. Some of those groups are still here helping today.
God working through military kids, men, women, with buckets, shoveling, digging, fighting, and in 2 weeks' time, a miracle occurred in that town. And ever since then, we've never lost momentum.
Spokes of Hope, a faith-based group out of Little River, South Carolina, has been on the ground.
100 and some people a day, trucks and trailers and tools and moving about, feeding the community.
Helping rebuild Chimney Rock and Bat Cave, organizing volunteers.
Trees off of roofs to decks that were crushed, egress, ingress, handicap ramps. The flooding side, the wind damage side, the roofs. We've done over 80 roofs brand new.
Through their work, Chimney Rock is inching toward a new normal.
We know it's going to be a miracle. We know it's going to be beautiful because God does all things to new, always better.
With some businesses beginning to reopen.
We just don't see the finish line yet. That's the honest answer. We don't know yet what the ending looks like.
As for the Hickory Nut, Sherry thinks their finish line is still years away.
That was the end of the building, right where that white wall is.
Her shop partially opened in June when Chimney Rock State Park opened its doors.
Every day if you wake up is good. There's more good days than bad days. And you just keep going and you'll find them.
Just down this river, the power of Helene left Lake Lure, Lake less.
That's right. Our Peyton Furtado takes us to the eye of the recovery.
You didn't hear anything. It was just complete silence. And then the helicopters start with rescues.
Hurricane Helene swept mountains of homes and businesses into Lake Lure.
I've been doing debris removal for the Army Corps for over a decade now, and this was the largest, most impacted area.
Crews quickly discovered that recovery would be more like learning to walk on water. In July, the Army Corps of Engineers was still working at peak crew and equipment capacity.
We've seen pieces of construction equipment, random metal. We found a toolbox full of tools.
Really anything you'd find in your home or garage.
And I've never thought a car could be smashed into a ball about the size of a beach ball, just tumbled and tumbled and tumbled.
They even found a bit of Lake Lure history.
Well, we found one truck that was 100 years old, and that was obviously not there as a result of the hurricane. It was there as a result of the fact that 100 years ago there was no lake.
As of July of this year, the Army Corps of Engineers has removed 8.5 million cubic yards of just silt, debris like this. End to end, that would be 3,300 miles of dump trucks. That's like going from Miami to Seattle and beyond. As crews cleared Chimney Rock and Bat Cave's trash and treasures, they've lowered lake levels. So what happens when you take the lake out of a town called Lake Lure? Well, this town relies really heavily on tourism dollars.
I would say tourism is probably 99% of the economy here, to be honest with you.
Between Memorial Day and Labor Day, Lake Lure's population swells from 1,300 people to 10,000.
It's really the heart, and it is what draws people here.
That steady stream of tourists, more like a trickle now.
You don't have the second homeowners on the lake enjoying the lake right now that are coming for dinner or hanging out at the hotel or having guests stay. This has been, for a long time, one of the top wedding destinations in North Carolina, which obviously with no lake, that is completely dried up.
Keaton Nicholson co-owns the timeless Lake Lure Inn and Spa. The hall's haunted with writers, politicians, and movie stars past.
I think the big one is the Dirty Dancing filming. So they did some filming at the lake, allegedly.
Founded in 1927, Nicholson bought the luxurious lodge 3 months before the storm. Does Lake Lure need people right now?
Absolutely. I mean, we're struggling significantly. I think any business around here is struggling because it's a tourist economy.
But the current's growing stronger.
And you've seen many, many trucks here on their way to Inner South Carolina. Means there's one less truck full of sedimentation or debris in Lake Lure. So we're so thankful for that.
Do you think we'll get back to a point where everything is back to normal here at Lake Lure?
We'll get back to what's the new normal in Lake Lure. The river's going to look a little different. Some of the buildings aren't going to be here. It's not going to be the Lake Lure 2 days before the event, but it'll still be Lake Lure and Chimney Rock.
Lake Lure locals like Terry Milligan are hopeful, but torn about that new normal.
I guess we're losing something even though we're going to gain something, maybe even better, but we've still lost. You know, maybe things will never be exactly the way they were, and part of that is growth, which always happens, and part of it's out of necessity, but it will not be the exact same, even though I think it will be wonderful.
One of our first glimpses into the devastation that was brought on by Helene was in Biltmore Village.
And today, as business owners work to reopen, they are seeing silver linings.
Chris, they are. As Ray Urena shows us, Biltmore Estate has done a lot of work to ensure that that guest experience is as memorable as ever.
We are on McDowell Street heading into Biltmore Village. I'm going to step off to the side so you can see why we are here. That is the Swannanoa River running down the middle of Biltmore Village.
A 27-foot peak crest of rushing water devastated historic Biltmore Village. Some buildings damaged beyond repair, including the McDonald's, now demolished. Others are being rebuilt from the inside out.
And guess what, folks? We are open.
In the face of adversity,
we're open, yay!
businesses like Corner Kitchen
It got up to the ceiling of the first floor and up to the landing of the staircase. So that's about 13 feet is how high it got.
have reopened their doors.
We've got the portobello tartine here.
318 days after Helene.
Rebuilding this has been, I think it has been really exciting because some of the things that we've wanted to do for years, we were able to now do, right? There's silver linings to everything.
Yeah, are you kidding? How could you not like this? It's the best.
Their customers were just as hungry to be back.
And we were really depressed when we found out it had been closed all this time, and knowing it was open today, we had to come.
Yeah, right. This is the first place. I just landed an hour ago. The first place I came was here.
Recovery at Biltmore Village is well underway, but what business owners say helped them a lot was when Biltmore Estate reopened just over a month after Helene. While there was no damage to the house itself, some of the grounds weren't as fortunate.
So we used to have group sales over there, and that was flooded. Down here at the main gate, we had tulip poplars that were original to Olmsted's planting, so they date back to 1894, 1895, and because of the floods, we had to remove those.
Director of Horticulture Bill Quaddy says many of the estate's crops were washed out by the flood.
We were able to replant in those areas. All of the egg fields that got damaged are now replanted, and we've got a really great field corn in all those fields right now.
Quaddy says Helene's rain and high winds saturated the estate's grounds, causing tens of thousands of trees to fall.
The highest percentage of trees that we had came down there were white pines. And then right after that were oaks and maples and tulip poplars.
After a long cleanup, they say the guest experience won't be impacted.
One thing that they're going to notice is that a lot of the areas that they drive through, they're not going to see any damage.
Welcome to the Grand Bohemian Lodge, Asheville.
Just across the street from the estate, the Grand Bohemian Lodge has reopened with renovated guest rooms.
So mattresses and bed bases, headboards, lighting.
After about 8 feet of water flooded the first floor.
And I think what we've learned during, this tragedy is how we're able to work together. And so as we get more of us back and more businesses operating, we continue to meet to discuss how can we make the village more of a destination.
For Corner Kitchen, they're pushing forward, serving hot and fresh meals.
Because we're here now, this is the present, this is all that counts.
Serving up the future with a side of resilience.
Asheville is back open. Please come and see us. There's so much to see in Asheville.
And Chris, when we think about the damage to the trees just inside Biltmore Estate, it's incredible.
I spoke to one of those companies that did the cleaning up of Helene, Southern Disaster Recovery. He said his company alone cleaned up 10 million cubic yards of debris. To put that in perspective, that would fill all of Main Street, Greenville, from the Peace Center to the Hyatt Regency, as tall as a 50-story building.
That is an incredible picture to have in our minds. And then we think about all those downed trees that just sat and got dry. That became the perfect tinder for those wildfires that we saw this spring.
Open for business.
You're doing recovery work just by visiting.
Visitors welcomed back after a long road to recovery. Coming up on Chronicle.
From here in the Lower River Arts District of Asheville to tiny mountain towns, there's a beautiful patchwork of small businesses that make up the economic quilt of Western North Carolina. But even after the hit from Helene, some are now welcoming visitors in, but others are still struggling to keep the doors open. Here now, Sydney Shadracks.
Just 1 mile off of the Blue Ridge Parkway, you'll find the Alpine Inn. Nestled at 3,200 feet on the side of Grassy Mountain in the Little Switzerland community of Western North Carolina.
When people come up here, that's really what they want to do, is go hiking on Crabtree or just drive the Blue Ridge Parkway.
The Alpine Inn offering adventurers a place to rest their heads in one of its charming 12 rooms until September 2024.
You can really see it. There's a gap. See how the building's kind of cantered?
Yeah.
And you can look at the doors now don't latch. Some of them don't latch. They're cantered a little bit. So it's probably gone.
A 96-year-old piece of history changed forever. Half of the guest rooms gone.
We get about one room a week.
One room a week. What did it used to look like before Helene?
About 60-70%.
Full.
Yeah. I mean, we're living off GoFundMe funds. Because right now it's not even paying for its bills.
Down the mountain, business owners in Asheville experiencing the same.
We took out a second mortgage to open the bar.
$210,000 invested into the first iteration of Day Trip, a cocktail bar Brandon Davis opened in August.
We were only open for that month.
According to Explore Asheville, visitors spend about $3 billion a year at area businesses. In the fourth quarter of 2024, businesses lost about $584 million in spending.
And that means a lot when those businesses are really counting on that revenue in the fourth quarter to get through the slower first quarter.
New Morning Gallery in Biltmore Village features the work of artists from across the country.
We own about 80% of our artwork here. We buy it wholesale from artists, and that's a direct hit to their pocketbook when we're not purchasing, when we're closed for 8 months.
And every sale matters.
When it's a small family studio, or 1 or 2 people or 10 people in a small production studio, it's very impactful.
And now these small independent businesses are working to build back.
We're not corporate, we're doing this all with a team of 2 or 3 people.
In January, Davis received the keys to a new space. The new Day Trip, now open with the help of GoFundMe and the support of strangers.
It was an overwhelming amount of support.
And at New Morning Gallery,
we just want people to come into Asheville and see that we're open, we're vibrant.
And back up the mountain,
the cement truck would be right where that cab is.
Work continues at the Alpine Inn.
I mean, I've lived enough life to know bad things happen, but if you keep your head up and you work hard, it may give you one little penny at a time or some little token, but generally something good happens little by little.
And so exciting, just a few yards behind us, artists and vendors are now back in business at the Marquee.
When Chronicle continues.
You realize how much you rely on simple things when you don't have them.
Helene knocked out water, power, and internet. How utility companies are preparing for future disasters.
Millions of people in the Carolinas and Georgia lost their water and power after the storm. And now, a year later, many of the utility companies say they are still working on improvements. Our Isabel Marek shows us their progress.
Asheville native Rhonda McKinney never expected September 27th to end the way it did.
The wind was so fierce, I can't even really think of a word to describe that because we don't have hurricanes here.
After the storm cleared, she was left without water, power, or internet.
It was like living in the wilderness, and I was not cut out to be a wilderness woman.
Her immediate thoughts were about her father, who has Alzheimer's, and her husband, who has diabetes.
You realize how much you rely on simple things when you don't have them. When you have zero resources, you really learn quick.
McKinney was one of about 1.34 million Duke Energy customers in the Carolinas who lost power after the storm. Now, this includes 99% of Duke Energy's customers in the upstate.
Duke Energy, they fought a good fight. They really did.
It took Duke about 2 weeks to get her power running again. And to do that, the company said it had to replace 14,000 power poles and 9 million feet of wire.
The initial response to Helene was one of speed, was one of efficiency, and was one of making sure our customers and our communities were recovering as quickly as possible.
Duke says recent infrastructure upgrades helped cut the response time.
We always learn from an event like this, and we incorporate those learnings into the next big storm.
Like investing in upgrades such as steel poles, increasing protection around equipment, and placing outage-prone lines underground.
We've been doing that in Western North Carolina. We've been doing that in South Carolina through foundation grants and working with communities to understand better ways to communicate in the event of a storm, better ways to partner along the way to understand where infrastructure pinch points might be.
And if I had to pick, Give me water. I can figure out what to do until the power comes on, but give me clean water.
When the water went out, officials in Asheville say they focused on the North Fork Water Treatment Plant, which supplies 80% of the surrounding area. Those repairs took heavy equipment to connect and bury water lines 40 feet underground.
That process took about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Under normal circumstances, a project like that would take 90 days plus.
With step one out of the way, there was a bigger problem at hand: to fix the water itself.
The surface looked like chocolate milk. It was not pretty.
So with backing from the EPA, the city started treating the water with disinfectants, but some complain it still isn't right.
Are we really getting good water? Because it stinks. The water stinks.
I asked water officials what people can do about that.
The first thing they need to do is call customer service. And we can send a lab tech out there to test their water.
The city says it has a list of solutions to protect its systems from future weather events, but it is still vulnerable.
The bad news is the price tag is like $200 million to do it. And for context, our annual operating revenue is about $45 million. And the only revenue stream that we have is customers paying their bills.
But Chandler says they're counting on assistance from the federal government.
We think we've made a very strong case about why that needs to be paid for.
One of the big frustrations with the storm's many utility outages was that people weren't able to reach family or emergency personnel. Isabel also asked AT&T and Spectrum what they're doing to keep everyone connected in the future.
It was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and we lost phone service. So that was horrifying, because we could not communicate with anybody, and we were black to the world.
Crews had to work among downed trees and in rough terrain to restore service.
One of the biggest takeaways was to diversify, or to bring a lot of these smaller, more agile deployables to the area, because they have a quicker response time. Not every asset that we have can go down a single lane mountainous road.
Now AT&T says it's working to expand its response team and technology.
As all Americans, we're spoiled. Are we not? Yes. We want everything. Boom, 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 boom. Want the phone, push the button, up, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We have unlimited access to everything. And suddenly we did not.
Spectrum said the storm damaged thousands of miles of network, and more than 550 technicians worked day and night to restore service.
But as we heard from many of you, Spectrum was not as responsive as you would have liked.
We were down last week. It took them 5 days to get here. Now you tell me why.
Spectrum declined our request for an interview. I asked them questions about transparency, refunds, what the company learned, and how repairs are going. Spectrum referred us to the letter it sent customers in February, where the CEO said, in part, quote, "I heard directly from customers and our local employees how we can do better. I apologize and want you to know we listened and implemented changes to be better in subsequent disasters." I specifically asked, what has the company learned in the aftermath of the hurricane? But the spokesperson referred back to the letter. Now, with water flowing, the lights back on, and internet connected, Rhonda McKinney says she hopes the community that magically came together after Hurricane Helene will stand tall once again.
It's here in a sense, but not as strong. And I would love for that feeling to grow and bring us back as a nation.
And we do realize that many of you watching may not have all of your services back. We have resources for you on WYFF4.com.
Fortunately, this year we're seeing things come back. Nature is resilient.
Helene's impact to wildlife and to crops.
Helene brought the worst devastation to agriculture we've ever seen.
Ahead on Chronicle. Welcome back to Chronicle, Hope After Helene.
We've seen some of the destruction that Hurricane Helene brought to humans, but what you might not know is the toll the storm took on wildlife. In fact, just yards away from where we're standing, this black bear just came wandering by, walking right past us along this broken riverbank. Carol Clark now with the devastation of habitat and the work to restore it.
Nature is resilient.
You might not expect to see a snorkeler face down in a creek, but for biologist Will Harlan, it's the best way to see what's living here.
It's still a shaded part of the forest, and so we've seen the fish come back.
Come back from Hurricane Helene.
When Helene hit, it was eerily silent. That was maybe the most haunting part of the post-Helene experience. There were no sounds of frogs at night. There were no insects buzzing. It was eerily, hauntingly quiet.
And the creek, hauntingly empty. Not even his favorite creature, the hellbender. The shy, gentle 2-foot salamander is important to these mountain streams.
They play a really important ecosystem function in eating insects and invertebrates and keeping our streams healthy.
But Helene changed so much.
Walker Creek actually broke in 2 places and became 3 creeks at one point and was pounding through our front yard. It followed a landslide that ripped the creek and nearly took out our house.
This looks like a big, beautiful field, and it is, but right after Helene, it was strewn with boulders, pushed by the creek onto the property.
Will and his family rebuilt. Now he wants Mother Nature to do the same. Those boulders, tossed by floodwaters or crushed by cleanup operations, destroyed hellbender habitat.
And these are creatures that are now proposed to be listed as endangered.
50 miles away in McDowell County, David Deaton understands that kind of loss.
We're almost to the point we're fully operational.
After Helene, the Armstrong Fish Hatchery in Marion lost 608,000 plus trout. Rushing water knocked out the water pipes leading to the upper raceways, leaving the trout stranded and dying.
The creek had moved from its original channel and came across the raceways, filled the raceways up with rock and debris.
It took months to clean up. The upper raceways looked like this in February. Now, crews have cleaned out the dead fish and pressure washed the place. The lower raceways were cleaned months ago and stocked with trout from a hatchery in Brevard. Fish that in turn went out to North Carolina streams.
We actually stocked probably this spring an average of about 90% of what we normally would.
That saved North Carolina's $1.5 billion trout industry. And recently, Deaton got brown trout eggs from the National Hatchery in Wyoming, 300,000 of them.
Unfortunately, there was a few streams that we could not stock because of the condition of those streams.
The condition of the streams still worries Will Harlan. He's hoping the region's rich animal life begins to thrive. On this snorkeling trip, he saw tiny blotched chubs. Outside his home, a swarm of swallowtail butterflies. His pair of milking goats survived Helene and live in a rebuilt barn.
We need the full suite of species out here because if we're missing some, it causes problems for others. We need them all back.
And by coming back, they give hope that humans will too.
Helene also decimated the farmland. Henderson County is western North Carolina's largest agricultural county, and apples are the signature crop, making up 20% of the local economy. And Helene hit right in the peak of the short 12-week season. Farmers tell me their 2024 crop was one of the best in decades, until it was struck by the most devastating disaster ever to hit the county.
Whoever thought you would have an orchard back in place, you know, looking this good 10 months after it was washed down the creek.
We are just so overwhelmed with what we're getting done, and we're very proud.
Pride, resilience, and community are the fuel that apple farmers have survived on since Helene struck.
No matter what you heard on the news or saw on the news, walking out and seeing things in person was just jaw-dropping.
This used to be an apple farm.
3 months after the disaster, Peyton Furtado showed us that jaw-dropping destruction of the Nix family orchard, a wall of water washing away farm equipment and this entire 7.5-acre orchard.
It was things that you never thought you'd see in your life, that you never thought would be possible.
We lost approximately at that point in time about 3,000 trees.
3,000 trees.
Yes, ma'am.
But this third-generation farmer and his son got right to work, grading the field and planting new apple trees, fronting every dollar of the cost themselves.
Until we see some action from what we've been promised from whether it be the state officials or whether it be the federal officials. We don't know where we're at.
Agro-tourism, a central pillar of the apple economy, was also shut down.
This is our first time doing this, so this is...
Right in the prime of the 12-week apple season. So these family apple farmers are depending on a strong 2025 season.
We'll probably see you tomorrow for another dozen.
Probably the apple pies have to have, and the Honey Crisp.
Visitors are returning, but there's still a lot to overcome.
When the storm hit in mid-September, we were in prime time.
For the fifth-generation Justice Orchard, the loss of trees was just the beginning.
Where when we knew the hurricane was coming, we wanted to go ahead and get as many picked as we could and get them in the cooler so they would be safe.
They weren't. 20 varieties of apples filled this walk-in cooler, but with no power for 3 straight weeks, 500,000 apples rotted. The freezer held 6,000 pies, fritters, caramel apples, and baking supplies, 300 gallons of cider and vegetables.
All of that was lost too.
All ruined.
By the time we opened back up, we had a couple of weeks of limited traffic because there were still so many roads and bridges out. But then our season's done.
There's been little federal or state funding, and insurance didn't cover the loss of product and revenue because it was classified as a hurricane.
The bills were still there, but we had to just sit and wait until now this apple season to get it going again.
At Flavorful Farms, the Nix family is once again growing, slicing, and packaging fresh apples for school children in both Carolinas.
I know the kids on the other end in Raleigh, Charlotte, wherever else is getting a safe product to eat. That's the heart of my life right there.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
It's more than just business for these generational farmers.
Food is our national security. If we can't feed ourselves, we're depending on another nation to get our food from. And that's the most dangerous position that our country could be in.
We all need a great year to recover from this past year. But for some, it could be the difference in farming in the future.
We've got to get that help to our farmers. We can't just talk about it. We've got to get it done.
And right now, this is peak season for apples again. And Chris, I know this is a very personal topic for you, growing up on what's now a 5th-generation apple farm.
Being a farmer's son's what got me into meteorology at a very young age. And I got to tell you, there may be a little friendly competition when it comes to the farmers, but they're all one big family. And that was especially true after Helene. Whether it's repairing roads for each other or just helping out wherever they can, everybody came together.
And now they need us to all come together and support these farms. In fact, great kickoff. This year's North Carolina Apple Festival was extra special, of course, just making people aware of all the fun of coming to pick your own apples and so many fun family activities, Chris.
And just to come up, have fun with the family and enjoy and support apple farmers up here in Western North Carolina.
And get a fried apple pie.
Coming up next on Chronicle, getting crucial funding for recovery.
The issue is to get those funds into the hands of the folks that need it.
One-on-one with Congressman Chuck Edwards.
An historic storm and a massive price tag. Helene left behind nearly $60 billion in damage to North Carolina alone. And aid money, both on the federal and state level, has been approved, but people here say they haven't seen it. Aaron Baker spoke with North Carolina leaders on the funding received so far and who's getting it.
We did not get paid from the government until the project was finished. So we were setting, how are we going to get the money to do this? How are we going to make this happen?
1 year after Hurricane Helene, Congressman Chuck Edwards says there's still a major problem. Holdups with federal reimbursements and getting relief money to Western North Carolinians who need it most.
The issue right now is using the money that's already appropriated, that's in the hands of various agencies.
Why is it so hard to get that funding to people?
It's a bureaucratic process. FEMA, USDA, HUD, and others not only have their own complications and bureaucracy, but they have to interact with local governments and state governments.
A recent state report found the federal government has provided $1.1 billion in FEMA funding through June of 2025.
As we continue to recover in Western North Carolina from this disaster, we're working to reform FEMA.
Those changes outlined in a 62-page report Edwards released back in April and sent to President Trump. Have any of the recommendations from that report been implemented?
It's been met with great interest from the folks at the White House.
But he admits change won't happen overnight.
We're trying to fly a plane at the same time we're trying to build it. It's very difficult while we're in the middle of the process to rebuild it.
Along with individuals, the funding holdups are also impacting cities and towns that are paying up front for infrastructure repairs and waiting to be reimbursed.
Much of the local governments here in Western North Carolina don't carry a large cash balance anyway, and they've been depleting the cash balances they have.
Representative Edwards says his office is trying to cut through the red tape. He's asking people who are stuck waiting for FEMA money to reach out to his dedicated helpline, 223-FIX-FEMA.
If folks will make me aware of a specific instance, often I can push the buttons to accelerate the relief that they're looking for.
When Chronicle continues.
We lost everything.
I'm thinking the water got right to there.
I don't have pictures of my kids.
Dreams washed away. An upstate couple recounts losing their forever home.
These mountains saw the greatest devastation from the storm. In fact, this building right behind me, the water rose all the way up to these second-story windows. But South Carolina's upstate was not spared. Rashad Williams introduces us to a couple in Easley who look back on the final hours they would ever spend in their own home.
This is my dream. Got all washed away. That is the living room.
It was a once-in-a-lifetime storm.
That was all kitchen area there.
A storm so catastrophic.
I'm thinking the water got right to there.
That it claimed everything Scott Hackett and Sandy Crivero owned in a matter of hours.
It's all mold, all of it, black.
On Friday, September 27, 2024, Sandy was awakened early.
We woke up at 5 a.m. because the power went out. And he got up and he looked out back and there was rainwater in the field, but that was it.
But just 2 hours later,
I noticed that, well, the toilet was bubbling is why I went in there.
I was in the living room and I could hear blah, 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 blah. I thought, what is that?
Well, I looked in the floor vent, the water was right there.
Come right up through there.
And the water from the Saluda River kept coming and rising fast.
It was up the couple of stairs and starting to come in under the back door.
It was coming up more and more, and it's like, we gotta get out of here.
After calling for help,
We got a foot of water in the house right now.
Within minutes, they were being rescued.
We've been through hurricanes in Maine and Massachusetts that never did anything like this because we weren't near a river. But
Our cameras were there as the couple was rescued from what was supposed to be their forever home.
I guess we stayed in here too long. It was low and then it just came up.
I mean, we lost everything. I don't have pictures of my kids. He doesn't have pictures of his kids. And I had a lot of photos of me as a child, my family, my parents. Everything's gone.
Things that can never be replaced were either lost in the storm or had to be thrown away because of extensive damage by Helene.
Christmas was really hard for me. I lost my brand new Juki sewing machine that I had dreamed about my whole life having. I finally had it, barely could use it, and we threw it in a dumpster.
Even the shed in the backyard was loaded with sentimental items that are now ruined.
It's my baby. She was pretty.
Like Scott's Harley-Davidson motorcycle.
2012 Road King. Junk, probably.
Never expected anything like this could happen to us, ever.
And it all happened so fast. A home that was full of good memories and hope for the future.
Got 2 more bedrooms here.
Now serves as a painful reminder of what one big storm can do.
I don't know what to think. It's like, why?
To a home.
I just got to forget about it.
To a property.
I just got to go on.
To a life.
Walking away with pretty much nothing.
Scott and Sandy have left South Carolina to start over with nothing but a camper, their dog Duke, and a hope that something like this never happens again.
Building back stronger.
Show them that there is hope in tomorrow and it's going to get better.
Work underway to bring families home. Ahead on Chronicle.
Throughout this hour, we've seen how Hurricane Helene robbed some people of everything they own, leaving them just with memories.
But Samaritan's Purse is working to change that, and our Nigel Robertson is in Mitchell County for an emotional surprise.
Along the banks of Crabtree Creek, Lisa Thomas's life forever changed with 1 foot in the door.
I never dreamed that we could ever have anything even close to this.
This brand new,
I'm speechless.
3-bedroom,
what God has done for us,
fully furnished, paid off home,
it's amazing,
is hers.
It just fills my heart with so much joy I can't even tell you.
But getting to this point, she says, was terrifying.
Take me back to that day.
I've never been that scared in my life.
The emotion still raw.
In the back of my mind, I didn't see us ever. I didn't see us ever having another home. I didn't know which way to turn. I was the one that always fixed everything.
When Hurricane Helene came through Spruce Pine in western North Carolina,
I couldn't fix this.
Lisa Thomas and her family barely made it out alive.
The day was September 27th. The rain was coming down and the water in this creek was rising and rising fast. That was just the first problem. The second problem, the top of that hill where a massive mudslide came crashing down. The water in this riverbed rose and rose quickly. The family only had minutes to get to higher ground.
Their home destroyed.
My husband had lived here for, it'd probably be 40 years now, and I'd been here 34. And everything that we had accumulated all that time, we watched it come out the windows and go out the back end of the house.
She was now homeless.
And I didn't know what to do. We didn't know which way to turn. But then, like I said, when God sent Samaritan's Purse to us, that's when it was like a light just started shining over us.
The first thing I'm here to do is share the love of Christ and the gospel of Jesus Christ. And the second thing I'm here to do is get them in a safe, dry, livable home as quickly as I can.
And you did it.
God did it. I didn't do it. It was God that did it all.
Samaritan's Purse, a non-denominational disaster relief organization that works closely with Billy Graham Ministries, says its plan is to help up to 1,000 North Carolina families get a home post-Hurricane Helene. 500 mobile homes and 500 stick-built homes. All that hard work from more than 1,000 volunteers.
We've been down here 3 times now.
Putting in over 39,000 hours of work.
It really gives you a perspective on life as a whole.
Volunteers like Stephanie Lane from Ohio.
We were here first week in May and helped put the sheeting on the roof.
And Melissa Frazier.
When we came down in October, right after the flood, it was heartbreaking.
They are just 2 of the countless people who built this home for someone else from the ground up.
So what I hear you saying is God literally used your hands to help make this happen.
There is just such a fulfillment to come alongside people, to be the hands and feet of Jesus, and just to love on them, no matter what part you play.
This family is now home. The rain will come back and Crabtree Creek will roar again. But because of the work of Samaritan's Purse, Lisa Thomas will be able to watch and listen.
I couldn't in my wildest dreams ever have believed that we would have this.
Without fear.
What a beautiful illustration of just how big our little community really is when people from all over the country come to help our neighbors in need.
Well, they say some of the brightest days sometimes follow a storm. The help and the hope that we've all seen and felt in this past year of rebuilding gives us a greater sense of gratitude.
It does, and it also reminds us that each and every one of us need to support each other as we're navigating this long road of recovery together.
Well, thank you for joining us for Chronicle Hope After Helene. I'm Chris Justice.
And I'm Jane Robelo. Good night.